You're the environment person, right?
Yes.
At Koch, and the environment has been a flashpoint in the reputation of Koch publicly. Charles being ambiguous about where he thinks humans actually do or don't have, or to what degree humans have a role in climate change. Acknowledges that things are heating up. It's kind of hard to say that they aren't. But says, look, maybe not, humans. What is Koch's position on climate change?
Yeah, look, I think Charles has said the climate is changing. So the climate is changing. I think he's also said, and we believe, that humans have a part in that. I think what the real question is, and I think it's something that we've talked about pretty much all day today, is what are we going to do about it, right? What is the right answer? And I don't know about you, but I'm a baseball fan, and so I think just by association, I'm a Yogi Berra fan. So there's a great quote by Yogi Berra, and he says, it's impossible to get a conversation going because everybody's talking so much. And what I think needs to happen, and what our company is really focused on, is we want to make sure that the policies and the actions that we take are good for people, right? We want to make sure that the things that we do going forward are good today and good into the future. And one thing that we know isn't the answer is picking winners and losers, because we're not good at that.
Meaning the government.
Government, exactly. And I think there was a panelist earlier who talked about how bad that actually has been in the past with tax policies. So our focus is on innovating, making sure that we're driving good ideas and bringing other thoughts to the market. And when we have subsidies and mandates, it can pervert that situation and make it that much harder to bring those good ideas forward. So,
okay. A libertarian argument.
I'll ask the same question a little differently. So what approach do you believe will be effective? What market approach can be used from a libertarian point of view to address climate change, considering that it represents a risk such as the risk the insurance industry would deal with? We insure houses at a far lower risk than the climate risk, which is much greater by any measure.
Right.
Yeah, I stamped you libertarian, so you can ignore that. Right? You don't have to live under that umbrella if you don't want to.
That's all right. That's a fine umbrella. So the question is, what are we going to do? So at our lunch table today, we talked about what should we do, right? So is it regulation? Is it some other economic instrument that happens? And so what we would like to see is no subsidies, no mandates. Technologies compete based on their economic viability and based on, are they doing good for society? Meaning, do people want to buy them? Are they willing to pay for them? And then let those technologies compete, and the market will sort it out. So ultimately, that would be the solution that we would go towards, and that's what we're trying to do from a public policy standpoint.
Another question, way in the back there, way in the sitting down.
Thank you, Jim Walker. I work with the We Mean Business Coalition. We've, over the last couple of years, amassed a coalition of about 370 companies, 180 investors, who are making between them about 900 commitments to get 7 clear platforms on climate change. They range from going 100% renewable energy through to carbon pricing, through to responsible engagement on policy. And they're also back a really clear set of 8 policy asks on international policy, which also include carbon pricing. And within that coalition, there's these are big companies. They tick a lot of the boxes that you ticked around, being part of everyday life and products for consumers and local communities. There's also some Midwest companies in there, like General Mills, who I think have a very similar culture to the one that you described. Can you tell me what would sort of differentiate you from, or why you would have a different position to those 370 companies who are basically just saying to government, you regulate and we'll innovate, and let's get on with it?
I think you just said it. You regulate, we innovate, and let technology stand on their own without a subsidy or a mandate. And ultimately, you and I will decide by where we choose to put our resources.
One more? Yes, right here, please.
Thank you. Victor Minotti, International Forum on Globalization. Koch Industries' Canadian subsidiary has a couple million acres in Alberta of tar sands, probably the biggest carbon risk any individuals in the planet have. And they're going to spend $1 billion on the elections this year for candidates who are trying to stop carbon regulation. Why shouldn't we just think that they're trying to rig the rules and keep their own business afloat?
So the question is, why should we not think that we're rigging the rules? I think that hopefully you've heard, and I've tried to be pretty upfront and honest about, we're a principled company. One of our key guiding principles and something that we hold very dear is integrity, and we don't rig the rules. We don't advocate subsidies or mandates or special favors for ourselves. That's not who we are. And we don't do it in Canada, and we don't do it in the United States, and we're pretty proud of that. So that's why.
But picking this up, this is a critique of Koch, that it does influence the market. Maybe rig is too strong a word, but walking toward that word, right? By having immense influence in the political realm in Canada, in the United States, with hundreds of millions of dollars behind candidates that have the position of Charles Koch and David Koch. Is that a free market of ideas, or is that a market heavily influenced by one super rich player?
Well, if we're going to talk about super rich players, there are all sorts of
There's a lot of
that we could talk about. I do think that there are influences throughout the political system. We try at our company to really focus on market principles to drive what we do, and that's who we are. That's where we end up. Our shareholders have their political views, and the folks who work at Koch have their political views. But at the end of the day, we're in business to create value for society. We're in business to make that stuff that you guys use and I use every day, and we're going to continue to do that in a way that minimizes waste and in a way that gets the right results the right way. That's who we are.